Ladies and gentlemen, listen closely because this truth will save you years of confusion, frustration, and emotional pain. A woman's respect is not built on what you say, it's built on how she feels when she's around you. And here's the reality most men ignore. Back, hand index pointing right, you will never get the same level of respect from a woman who is not attracted to you. Not because she's evil, not because she's selfish, but because attraction changes everything. Attraction shapes the way a woman naturally responds to a man, influencing her tone, energy, and desire to invest in the connection. When a woman feels genuine attraction, her behavior shifts automatically because her emotions lead the interaction, not logic or obligation. She becomes more present, more open, and more emotionally available because she enjoys being around you without forcing herself. This effortless ease is a sign that her feelings align with her behavior, making respect an organic response rather than something she has to consciously practice. In short, attraction makes effort and respect flow without resistance. When attraction is missing, the entire dynamic feels heavier, slower, and more one-sided because she isn't emotionally compelled to give more of herself. You'll notice delayed replies, flat tone, minimal excitement, and polite but distant interaction, showing that something simply isn't clicking for her internally. She may still treat you decently, but the deeper, passionate respect that comes from admiration won't appear. Her behavior becomes careful rather than enthusiastic, measured rather than sincere, and respectful only on a surface level. This difference shows how attraction drives the quality of respect. A woman who is attracted to you will naturally seek closeness, participate in conversations with enthusiasm, and show curiosity about your life because she feels emotionally pulled toward you. Her respect is rooted in how you make her feel, not in what you demand or ask for. Attraction creates a sense of emotional safety and admiration that makes her see you as someone worth valuing. This causes her to communicate openly, listen attentively, and interact with softness and warmth. Ultimately, attraction sets the foundation for meaningful respect between you. When a woman lacks attraction, she often keeps emotional distance because she doesn't feel compelled to connect on a deeper level. Her respect becomes conditional, polite, and functional, offered more as a courtesy than an emotional investment. She might be friendly or even appreciative, but her energy remains limited, controlled, and restrained. Even small interactions feel less alive because her emotions aren't aligned with yours, reducing her willingness to invest real respect. This subtle reduction in effort reveals that respect without attraction rarely grows into something deeper. Thus, attraction is what elevates respect beyond politeness. Attraction influences how much effort a woman chooses to give because emotional interest fuels motivation, making her want to contribute without being asked. She appreciates your presence, values your time, and tries to match your energy because she sees you as someone worthy of her best self. This internal pull creates consistency, not convenience. When respect is driven by attraction, a woman becomes more reliable, attentive, and caring because she feels invested in the connection. Her behavior reflects the emotional depth she experiences. Consequently, genuine attraction transforms basic respect into active admiration and loyalty. When attraction isn't present, she often gives the bare minimum because her emotional engagement is low, causing her interactions to feel transactional or routine. She may enjoy your kindness or company, but lacks the internal spark that drives deeper respect. Her behavior stays predictable and safe, never crossing into admiration or genuine appreciation. This distance isn't intentional, It's simply a lack of emotional connection. Without attraction, respect loses depth and remains superficial. The absence of enthusiasm and warmth shows that her heart isn't fully involved. Therefore, without attraction, respect becomes limited and unsatisfying for both sides. Attraction also shapes how a woman interprets your actions, often making her more understanding, patient, and forgiving when she genuinely feels drawn to you. She sees your mistakes more softly, your efforts more clearly, and your presence more positively because her emotional lens is tinted with interest. Respect grows because she believes in your potential and admires who you are becoming. This admiration encourages her to uplift you instead of judging or dismissing you. When a woman is attracted, her respect becomes supportive and steady, revealing that emotional desire enhances her perception of your value. In the absence of attraction, even your best qualities might go unnoticed because her emotional lens isn't aligned with admiration or desire. She may acknowledge your strengths but doesn't feel inspired by them, causing her respect to remain detached and minimal. Little things you do feel unrecognized because her heart isn't engaged enough to appreciate them deeply. This isn't a reflection of your worth, it's simply the emotional mismatch between you. Without attraction, respect rarely grows beyond neutrality. This emotional gap shows that attraction is the element that transforms recognition into genuine respect. Ultimately, attraction creates an emotional bond that elevates every interaction, making respect natural rather than forced. It shapes her tone, body language, effort, and willingness to invest in the connection. When she is attracted, everything becomes smoother because her heart leads her to give more of herself. Without attraction, respect becomes limited, shallow, or inconsistent, not because she dislikes you, but because her emotional foundation isn't strong enough. Understanding this difference protects your self-worth and helps you invest your energy where it will be valued. In conclusion, attraction is the root that allows respect to grow fully. Respect grows naturally from admiration, not from a sense of obligation, pressure, or guilt. A woman respects a man she genuinely admires because admiration connects her emotional world to the way she perceives him. When she sees qualities in him that inspire her, confidence, purpose, direction, character, her respect rises effortlessly. This respect is authentic because it comes from internal appreciation rather than social expectations or politeness. She respects who he is, not what he does for her. Admiration makes the respect real, consistent, and meaningful. When respect is born from admiration, it becomes a stable foundation for any relationship. A woman who isn't attracted to a man may still treat him kindly or respectfully, but it's often courtesy rather than deep emotional regard. This kind of respect lacks intensity because there is no admiration beneath it. She respects him as a human being, but not as a masculine presence she feels drawn to. Without admiration, her respect becomes mild, distant, and surface level. She may appreciate his good intentions, but she doesn't feel moved by them. Respect offered from duty never equals respect offered from desire. The absence of admiration limits the depth of her respect. When admiration is present, a woman pays genuine attention to a man's opinions, ideas, and values because she perceives him as someone worth learning from. She becomes receptive to his influence, not because she is weak, but because she trusts his strength. This emotional openness builds deeper respect as she views him as someone with insight, leadership, or emotional intelligence. Her respect becomes anchored in how she experiences him, not in rules or expectations. Admiration fuels her respect, making it heartfelt instead of mechanical. Deep admiration always elevates respect to a higher level. Without admiration, a woman often listens politely but not deeply because she doesn't view the man as someone who influences her inner world. His ideas may sound reasonable, but they don't resonate emotionally. She may acknowledge his efforts, but without attraction or admiration, she doesn't internalize them. Her respect becomes limited to politeness, not connection. She maintains boundaries, keeps emotional distance, and rarely allows herself to be guided or inspired by him. Respect without admiration lacks emotional weight. This shows that admiration determines whether respect is sincere or simply a social gesture. Admiration is what makes a woman proud of a man, proud to support him, proud to stand beside him in public or private. She naturally uplifts him because she sees greatness in him, even when he doubts himself. This type of respect strengthens a relationship because it comes from genuine belief in his potential. Admiration makes her value his growth and celebrate his wins. Her respect becomes part of her emotional investment. When a woman admires a man, her respect becomes unwavering because she feels emotionally aligned with his journey. Thus, admiration transforms respect into loyalty. Without admiration, respect becomes conditional and inconsistent because it lacks emotional grounding. A woman may respect a man's good traits but not feel inspired by them, making her commitment shallow. She may be supportive at times but indifferent at others, because admiration is the force that gives respect its stability. Without admiration, respect becomes fragile, easily shaken by conflict, misunderstanding, or disappointment. She doesn't anchor her respect in emotional connection, so it fades easily. This reveals that admiration is the glue that holds respect together. Without admiration, respect becomes temporary and unreliable. Admiration also shapes how a woman perceives a man's flaws, challenges, and weaknesses. When she admires him, she sees his flaws as human, forgivable, and improvable. She respects his efforts and intentions even when he isn't perfect. Admiration makes her focus on his strengths rather than exaggerating his weaknesses. This respectful perspective builds emotional resilience in the relationship, creating deeper trust. She respects his potential and his desire to grow. In this way, admiration becomes the lens through which she interprets his humanity. Admiration strengthens respect by bringing compassion into how she sees him. When admiration is missing, a woman often fixates on a man's flaws because nothing emotionally counterbalances them. His weaknesses appear heavier, more irritating, and harder to overlook. Respect declines because admiration isn't present to soften her perception. She may become critical, dismissive, or impatient because she doesn't see qualities that inspire her to look past imperfections. Without admiration, flaws overshadow strengths, leading to diminishing respect. This creates emotional distance and a lack of appreciation. The absence of admiration distorts her perception negatively. Thus, admiration protects respect by balancing how she views a man. Ultimately, admiration is the foundation that gives respect its depth, strength, and consistency. A woman respects a man she admires because admiration connects her emotions to her perception of him. Without admiration, respect remains shallow, polite, or temporary, never reaching the level that creates a fulfilling and balanced relationship. Respect that grows from admiration is sincere, steady, and rooted in emotional truth. It inspires her to support, value, and uplift him genuinely. In conclusion, admiration determines whether her respect becomes meaningful or merely functional, proving that real respect is impossible without genuine admiration. Trying to earn a woman's respect through overgiving or chasing never works because respect is not a reward for effort, it is a reaction to value. When a man chases excessively, he sends the message that he needs her approval more than he values himself, weakening the perception of his confidence. This behavior shifts the dynamic from mutual interest to one-sided pursuit, making respect decline rather than grow. A woman cannot admire a man who abandons self-worth to win her attention. In conclusion, chasing for respect destroys the very respect he hopes to gain. Overgiving often backfires because it removes the natural balance required for attraction and respect. When a man gives too much too soon, he creates an uneven exchange where he invests emotionally while she remains passive. Instead of seeing his generosity as strength, she may interpret it as neediness or desperation. This imbalance prevents her from valuing his efforts because they are offered without being earned. Overgiving communicates that he is trying to buy admiration instead of inspiring it. In conclusion, giving excessively weakens respect because it replaces reciprocity with imbalance. Respect requires boundaries, and chasing erases those boundaries by placing the woman above the man's own needs and self-priorities. When a man sacrifices his time, energy, and dignity to gain attention, he signals that her approval matters more than his personal standards. This makes him look replaceable rather than desirable, predictable rather than intriguing. A woman cannot respect a man who doesn't respect his own limits. Chasing turns him into an option rather than a choice because it removes the challenge and value that create admiration. In conclusion, losing boundaries leads to losing respect. When a man tries too hard to win respect, he often becomes overly agreeable or compliant, mistakenly believing that being endlessly nice will generate attraction. However, respect isn't earned through compliance, it's built through authenticity and confidence. A woman needs to see strength, not submission, to feel admiration. Chasing through niceness makes him appear weak because real value doesn't require constant approval. Seeking agreeability without boundaries doesn't inspire trust or desire. Instead, it leads to emotional disconnect. In conclusion, chasing through niceness reduces respect because women respect strength, not people pleasing. Giving without receiving creates emotional imbalance, making her feel like the relationship is based on his effort rather than shared investment. When a man constantly pursues without allowing her to contribute, he unintentionally removes her role in building the connection. This lack of participation prevents emotional attachment from growing because people value what they invest in. Overgiving denies her the chance to invest, weakening respect and connection. She begins to assume his efforts come from insecurity, not genuine value. In conclusion, without mutual investment, respect fades because effort must flow from both sides. Chasing also destroys mystery and lowers perceived value because he becomes too available and predictable. When a man is always ready to please, respond, or adjust to her needs, she doesn't feel the natural tension that creates attraction. Humans respect what is not easily acquired, and chasing eliminates this dynamic entirely. She begins to see him as emotionally dependent rather than emotionally grounded. Predictability replaces excitement, and admiration slowly fades. This lack of challenge prevents her from seeing him as a strong, self-assured man. In conclusion, chasing kills value, and without value, respect disappears. Overgiving often leads to resentment because he feels he has earned appreciation that she never agreed to give. When his efforts go unnoticed, he becomes frustrated, but the cycle continues because he keeps giving more, hoping to turn the situation around. This emotional imbalance grows until he feels drained or taken for granted. The reality is that respect cannot be obtained through effort alone. It must be inspired naturally. His resentment stems from misunderstanding how respect works. In conclusion, overgiving causes emotional disappointment because respect cannot be purchased with effort. Women respect men who prioritize their goals, purpose, and growth instead of centering their entire existence around chasing approval. When a man neglects his ambitions to win attention, he loses the qualities that create admiration in the first place. Purpose, focus, discipline, and direction are powerful traits that naturally attract respect. Chasing pulls him away from those qualities, making him appear less driven and less self-assured. A woman respects a man who leads his own life, not one who pauses it for her validation. In conclusion, chasing weakens purpose, and without purpose, respect fades. Ultimately, respect grows from self-worth, not self-sacrifice. A man who values himself doesn't chase, overgive, or beg for attention because he understands that respect must be reciprocated to be real. He presents his value rather than proving it, allowing the woman to meet him at his level. This creates balance, admiration, and emotional alignment. When he stops chasing and starts standing in his worth, the dynamic shifts and respect grows naturally. A woman respects a man who respects himself first. In conclusion, real respect begins with self-respect and cannot be achieved through chasing or overgiving. When a man chooses to walk away from low attraction, he is not giving up but reclaiming his dignity, because staying in a situation where he is undervalued only weakens his self-worth. A woman who isn't truly attracted will never offer her full respect, and remaining in that dynamic drains emotional energy. By walking away, he signals to himself that he deserves genuine effort, not filtered interest. This decision strengthens his confidence because it aligns his actions with his worth. In conclusion, walking away becomes an act of self-respect when attraction and respect are not mutually present. A woman's low attraction often leads to inconsistent affection, minimal investment, and selective responsiveness, creating emotional confusion for the man involved. He begins to question himself, wondering what he is doing wrong, even when the issue is simply a lack of compatibility or chemistry. Staying in this situation damages emotional stability because he keeps trying to fix something that cannot be forced. Walking away protects his mental clarity and prevents deeper emotional wounds. In conclusion, leaving a low attraction dynamic preserves emotional strength by stopping the cycle of self-doubt and confusion. Remaining where he is not appreciated makes a man compromise his standards because he starts tolerating behaviors he would normally reject. Low effort, disrespect, excuses, and emotional distance become normalized when he fears losing her. This slowly erodes his identity and confidence because he adjusts himself to fit her comfort rather than his values. Walking away resets this imbalance and restores his sense of self. He regains the strength to choose what aligns with his dignity instead of settling for half-hearted interest. In conclusion, stepping away protects a man from lowering his standards for temporary validation. Walking away also creates space for the right woman to enter his life, because holding on to someone who doesn't value him blocks opportunities for healthier connections. When he releases what isn't meant for him, he opens the door to someone who can appreciate his presence, effort, and masculine energy. Staying stuck in a low attraction situation delays emotional fulfillment and personal growth. Leaving allows him to invest his time and energy into environments where he is genuinely respected. In conclusion, walking away clears emotional space for relationships that offer mutual attraction and genuine respect. A man who walks away from disrespect or low attraction becomes more disciplined emotionally because he trains himself not to chase validation. This emotional discipline strengthens his sense of independence and deepens his confidence because he proves to himself that he can prioritize his dignity over temporary feelings. Instead of seeking approval, he focuses on becoming the best version of himself. This mindset shift enhances his overall masculinity and leadership. In conclusion, walking away builds emotional discipline by teaching a man to choose self-respect over emotional attachment. Leaving a situation where he is undervalued helps a man rebuild his priorities because he shifts his focus back to his goals, growth, purpose, and self-improvement. Low attraction situations often distract men from becoming their highest selves because they pour energy into trying to win someone's attention. Walking away redirects that energy toward personal development and success. With clarity restored, he becomes stronger, more driven, and more fulfilled. This transformation increases his value and confidence naturally. In conclusion, walking away helps a man realign with his purpose by freeing him from emotional distractions. Walking away also increases a man's perceived value because it signals that he is not desperate or dependent on one woman's opinion of him. Women respect men who can detach, maintain standards, and move forward with dignity. This strength of character makes him more attractive, not just to others but to himself. When he knows his worth, he stops settling for anything less than mutual effort. His actions demonstrate confidence far more than his words ever could. In conclusion, choosing to walk away elevates a man's value through decisive self-respect and emotional independence. A man who leaves a low attraction dynamic avoids long-term emotional damage because staying too long eventually breeds resentment, insecurity, and frustration. He begins to question his attractiveness, masculinity, and value, allowing emotional rejection to shape his self-image. Walking away breaks this harmful pattern immediately, preventing deeper wounds and protecting his emotional health. Over time, he realizes that leaving was not a loss but a necessary step toward healing and growth. In conclusion, stepping away preserves long-term emotional well-being by preventing deeper psychological harm. Ultimately, walking away from a woman who does not respect or value him allows a man to reclaim control over his self-worth, emotional direction, and future relationships. It teaches him that love, respect, and attraction must be mutual, not one-sided. Leaving becomes an act of strength, clarity, and self-protection. It reminds him that he deserves genuine connection, not conditional attention. When he walks away, he chooses himself, and that decision sets the foundation for healthier, stronger relationships ahead. In conclusion, walking away empowers a man to prioritize real respect and authentic emotional alignment.